Mr. Godfrey Bloom. 1 minute.
Mr. President, I take the opportunity of wishing the East European cities well in the coming of the very early skiing season, and snow and ice that's come there, what of course is indicative of the fact that, as independent science has now confirmed, that the globe is actually cooling and has been cooling since 2002, broadly flat since 1998. We're all talking about something here which isn't happening. I've heard time and time again members here talk of CO2 as a pollutant. A pollutant is a life-giving natural gas. It gives me the impression that some of our members haven't had the benefit of a formal education. Isn't this really just about the state being able to get its hand in ordinary people's trouser pocket to steal yet more tax from them? Isn't this all about political control? Isn't all this about politics and big business? The whole thing's a sham. This bogus hypothesis, this ridiculous nonsense that man-made CO2 is causing global warming. Enough, please, before we damage irrevocably the global economy.
Got an article from October 8th, New York Times Magazine, about a firm called Kleiner Perkins, a capital firm called Kleiner Perkins. Are you aware of that company?
Well, yes, I'm a partner in Kleiner Perkins.
So you're a partner in Kleiner Perkins. Okay. Now, they have invested about $1 billion in 40 companies that are going to benefit from cap-and-trade legislation. So is the legislation that we are discussing here today, is that something that you are going to personally benefit from?
I believe that the transition to a green economy is good for our economy and good for all of us. And I have invested in it. But every penny that I have made, I have put right into a nonprofit, the Alliance for Climate Protection, to spread awareness of why we have to take on this challenge. And Congresswoman, if you believe that the reason I have been working on this issue for 30 years is because of greed, you don't know me.
No, sir, I'm not making accusations. I'm asking questions that have been asked of me and individuals, constituents that were seeking a point of clarity.
I'm joined now live from Washington by MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan. So with another good morning, Pat, we've got the president calling this new climate bill a jobs bill because he says it's going to create clean energy jobs. You have House Minority Leader John Boehner saying it's a tax bill. Why doesn't anyone want to call it a climate bill?
Well, because the science is suggesting that maybe all of this isn't really happening, or it's not really dangerous, or it's not really man-made. Barack Obama, the president, was right when he said we shouldn't be afraid of the future. That is how this bill got passed, through fear. We're all going to change. The climate's going to change. The oceans are going to rise. Our cities are going to be underwater. But more and more science is coming forward to say this is a hoax and a scam, which is designed to transfer wealth and power from the private sector to the government sector, and from the government of the United States to a world government, which is what we're going to get in Copenhagen when we get the Kyoto 2 agreement. It is a tax bill. It is going to raise the price of energy, electricity, lighting, everything you do in your home, heating. It's going to raise the price of that, the cost of that. It's going to hammer the middle class and the working class, especially for a danger which we don't even know for sure is really there.
We're setting up a global warming Gestapo that can literally come in, and now this new term, unlawful occupancy. So now living in your home is considered unlawful under this bill. This is ludicrous. This would adversely affect homeowners in this country who would be subject to this global warming police that would be created to come in and drag you out of your house and fine you civilly in federal court because maybe you wanted to protect your family at a higher level in the federal government. So you still have a global warming Gestapo. They just take some of the language out so that people can't tell what it's really doing.
I'd like to ask the question of the gentleman. What you said global warming Gestapo. What does that mean?
It basically is the powers that are vested in the secretary under Section 201 of this cap-and-trade energy tax to go in to someone's house, number one, to go in and then charge them. The government would be...
So if anybody does something you don't like, you call them Gestapo?
But then if they're in violation, they would be able, the terminology you used in your own bill, Mr. Chairman, is
what do you
unlawful
think of
occupancy.
the people who run other
Gestapo
government
terminology.
agencies? Do you think the government is made up of Gestapo people?
I don't think the government should be able to tell somebody if they're in their home and they're living in their home, abiding by all of the laws, that they're an unlawful occupant of their house. That's the terminology in the bill.
This is from U.S. News and World Report. This is from Carol, what's her name? Carol Browner. She's the new climate czar. Yeah. She said, quote, "We need to make sure that we're moving electricity in the smartest way and using the most cost-effective electricity at the right time. Eventually, we can get to a system where an electric company will be able to hold back some of the power so that maybe your air conditioner won't operate at its peak. So you'll still be able to cool your house, but that'll be a savings to the customer." Oh, well, gosh, that'd be great if I could just keep turning my air conditioner up and the government won't let me do it. Oh, that's fantastic. Kevin Williamson, he's the deputy managing editor of Natural Review, and he's as excited about this as I am. You look excited. Hey, Glenn. Yeah, how are you? Can you tell me a little bit about Carol Browner? Because when I first heard that he nominated her, she used to be chief of EPA, right?
Yeah, she was head of EPA.
Okay. Wasn't she like as part of some socialist?
Yeah, there's a funny thing. I mean, everyone sort of makes these kind of offhanded jokes about the Obama administration being socialist, but she actually used to belong to an explicitly organization. She was part of this group called the Commission for a Sustainable World Society, which is a kind of fruity lefty-sounding name to start with. But it turns out that it's part of the Socialist International. It's actually a formal part of it.
So did they not scrub her off the website?
Did, yeah.
Like the day she was nominated?
Apparently, so yeah, they took her biography off and took pictures of her off of the website and apparently removed the speech that she did. The people at the panel she was speaking at were a minister from the Chinese Communist Party, a guy from the Spanish Socialist Workers Party, and who's the last one? I'm trying to remember.
My next guest wants to sue Al Gore for fraud. He hopes a legal challenge will settle the global warming debate once and for all. He's John Coleman, and he founded the Weather Channel. My favorite channel, has some of the hottest women there. And now he works as a weatherman for KUSI TV in San Diego. He knows warm fronts like I know cold cuts. So, John, why do you want to sue Al Gore?
Well, the deal is this, Greg. We have tried and tried and tried to get a debate on global warming with scientists on the other side. Al Gore or any of the scientists behind him over at the UN IPCC, we'd love to have a debate with them, but they said, oh no, the debate is over.
Yeah.
Well, now there are 30,000 of us. We have 30,000 scientists, 9,000 PhDs, who have signed up to debunk global warming. And they still won't listen to us. We can't get on the air. If it weren't for the internet, you wouldn't even know I existed.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The whole deal is that somehow we have to be heard. So we figure maybe a court of law. It's the most amazing part of the story, really. How did it become such this huge accepted scam? I mean, it started off with some environmentalists and some one-world politicians at the UN who had World Earth Day in 1970, and out of that they finally managed to create this IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change at the UN. They claimed, of course, that was had something to do with science. All it was an environmental advocacy group. Then Al Gore learned a little bit about CO2 in college. One course, learned a little, and all of a sudden he became an expert. So he becomes vice president. The UN starts foisting this thing on us. And the media, which loves a crisis, loves to tell us that the world is coming to an end, the media jumped aboard, and once the media was aboard...
With almost every issue, you're allowed some kind of debate or dissent. And this is worse, actually, worse than any kind of religion where you're not allowed to dissent. You can't say anything without being called an idiot or crazy.
It's become a religion. That's exactly what it's become, an environmentalist religion. And, of course, green and environmentalism is a wonderful thing. I'm an environmentalist. But wait a minute. You're not going to turn me into an extremist, and you're not going to get me to tell a lie to try to accomplish an environmental goal. That's exactly what they're doing.
Speaking of goal, what does a hockey stick have to do with all this?
Well, this goes back to the start of it all. A professor at... American University named Michael Mann created a graph of temperatures through millennium flatlining and then shooting up at the end, the shape of a hockey stick. And the UN panel said, ooh, woohoo, love that.
Yeah.
And they kind of made it their Bible, and it became the cornerstone of their whole campaign. Now it has been proved, without a shadow of a doubt, to be built on absolutely bad science. You can put any data into that formula, and it'll come out a hockey stick no matter what.
Well, you know, John,
the whole thing was manipulated.
John, I'm